Hello and welcome to this demonstration on using Power BI to access publicly available data over the internet. My name is Jeff Black. I'm the training team leader from WARDY IT Solutions based out of Brisbane, Australia. Here today, the first thing that we'll need to do is download and install the Power BI desktop. So let's have a machine here with a browser, and we will go to powerbi.com. Now at this site here you'll find there's a lot of material around working with the Power BI desktop, and of course how to gain guidance and look at some other tutorials and video clips and things. So the first thing that we can do is click on Get Started for free, and this will take us to the download section of the page. And we'll just hit download here, and we're not actually going to be starting a powerbi.com subscription here, so we'll just close this box. We'll go here and we'll save this Power BI desktop, download to our local machine, and then we'll run it. Okay. Now to install the Power BI desktop, as you can see, it's nice and free and easy, and it's just very straightforward just to hit the next buttons and do the install. Now we'll be prompted for user account control, and of course I do need administrative access to install programs on this operating system. Now once we've got the Power BI desktop installed, we can then go and start to explore some data. So the options that we have, the last install phase of the Power BI desktop, is to either launch the Power BI desktop and have a desktop icon. So if we move out here, you'll see there's the desktop icon that it's created, and the Power BI desktop is starting up in the background. Now while that's starting, let's go back to our browser and we'll have a look at some other interesting data out there. Now the data that we're looking for here is the results and statistics from the MotoGP.com site. Now as the season hasn't commenced this year yet, we can still have a look at the results from previous years. So I'll just go continue to the cookie check. And if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there is a link here in the MotoGP site to go to the results. Now if we're looking at the results here, you'll see straight up that we're looking at last year's results. So the default behavior of this page here is to go to the current results. So as results come through for this year, going to this URL will give us the 2016 results. But what I've discovered by playing around with the URL up here is that if I put in a different year at the end of this, now this is 2011, this is when Casey Stoner, the Australian, actually won the championship. So let's see what happens when I put that into there. As you can see here, it's actually now giving the results for that particular year. So there you go, you can see Casey Stoner won on a Honda that year. If I go back up to the URL bar, I can actually put all the way back to 1949. Okay, this is when the MotoGP Championship first started, and it was called the 500cc World Standing. But one thing that you'll notice common between all these different sites, or these result sets for the different years, is that the same shape of the data exists here in this table. I have noticed a few anomalies here in the actual data. If you go to 2004, you'll see here that the table that we're looking for the results from previous years is not actually there. That information is actually stored away in a PDF file. So what we'll need to do is download the PDF and then extract the information that's required for that particular year. Some other things that you may find as well, having a look through here, in the 1985 there is actually no results whatsoever. So we need to keep that in mind for when we do start collecting some more results from the MotoGP website. So I'll just go back to 2016, let's see what we have here. Okay, and yes, the 2016 results. So what I'm going to do is just copy that URL. And then I go to my Power BI desktop, and on this splash screen here, which is very, very useful, gives me the ability to sign into my powerbi.com subscription. Or there's a few links on the site here where you can get some further information and look at some tutorials and videos on how to do things with the Power BI desktop and working with powerbi.com. So I'm just going to close that splash screen, and I'm going to go to the Get Data here, and I'm going to go straight to the web. So get data from the web, and I will paste in the URL that I was looking at there in my browser, and then I'll go OK. Now what this will do is go off to the MotoGP website and give me or connect, download the data and give me a navigator that shows me all of the contents of the HTML that's there at that particular website, the URL that I gave it. So once it's connected to the site, then I've got this navigator, and we can see that there's a whole lot of other results in there, including another table there, including the document itself. If we look at this one here, MotoGP World Standing 2016, you'll see there's the results from last year. That's the one that we want, so we're going to the check mark to there, and then we're going to go and edit this data. So this will open up the query editor window here for me, so I can go and examine the data that's there. And if we have a look through here, you'll see that it's already picked out data types there for us. You can see the data types over here is a whole number, and these other ones are text, of course, for the names of bikes and names of people and nations. One thing that we've got here that you can see in this nation column is that we've got some 3-letter codes, the prefix there. Now, these are not the actual international standard codes. What we need to do is actually go to, somewhere and find where those codes are. So where else but the internet. So let's go out here. We'll start up a new tab, and we've got our favorite search engine running here, so we can now do a search for 3-letter country codes. Let's have a look at what we've got here. So as you can see down through here, you can see there's lots of different references. There's Wikipedia. Yeah, you can get a lot of information from there, but I've got one here. Let's go and choose this one here. nationsonline.org. This sounds interesting. So if we scroll through here, very similar to what we saw in the MotoGP website, there is a HTML table in here, and this contains the information that we need. As you can see here, there is some information, the 2-letter codes and the numeric codes that we don't necessarily need. But what we'll do is we'll grab hold of those, and we'll make a connection to the website to go and get that. So from the query editor, I can go into the news source here and then click web and put in the URL, and again, very similar to what we saw at the MotoGP website, it'll connect and then bring up a navigator for me, and in this navigator I can select all the HTML tables, including the document itself. So if you look at these things here, we can go through, you can see, oh, there's something that wasn't, okay, so it's actually this table here. Now, as you can see, there seem to be some interesting anomalies here with the data, but that's okay. That's what we've got the get data or Power Query for. So I'm going to select that table, and I'm going to go OK. Now, what that'll do is bring it into my query editor so I can do things with this. Now, we can see here that we've got the country area name and we've got the ISO Alpha 3 code. They're the only 2 columns that are required. So what I'm going to do is select them with my Control key, and then I'm going to right click on them and say remove the other columns. We don't care about those. We just want the country name and the Alpha 3 code. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about actually changing the names of these things here, but if you do want to, the easiest thing is to just simply double click and then make the change over here. Alright, one other change that I need to make here is, of course, give the table a name now, okay, called countries. That'll do. Alright, so now we'll close this off here. Okay, so this will go off to the MotoGP website and the other website that I got the country codes from, and download all of the data there ready for me to create some visualizations. If I expand the MotoGP World Standing results here, I can go nation and points will do. Alright, so something there. So you can see how the points have been aggregated by country there. If we turn on the rider as well, you can see how that splits down, because there was a couple of Aussie riders there. There you go, Jack Miller and Mike Jones for that particular season. Alright, so for last year's season. So if I turn that one off, we can see that there. The easiest way to visualize this is, of course, with a column chart, or bar chart, or as necessary. But if you look closely at these, if you look closely at the axis down the bottom here, you'll see that we've got there Australia, we've got Ireland, Italy, Japan, and we've got Spain in here as well. Now that SPA is not the actual real code for Spain. So if we were to remove nation from here and then go to countries and then pick the country instead, so I'll drag that down to the axis, you can see here that there's all sorts of interesting things going on here. We've got points by country, and we've got some repeated values over here, but they all seem to be the same values. This is a clear indicator there is something up with the relationships between the these 2 tables where I've selected these fields from. So if I go to the relationships here, we can see the list of fields for my MotoGP World Standings, and I've got my country code over here. So there is no relationship at the moment here. So I need to establish that relationship to say that these are the actual countries. So I'm going to grab hold of nation, and I'm going to drag that on top of the Alpha 3 code to establish that one-to-many relationship here for us to the countries. Now, if I go back to the visualizations, you'll see how much that is now changed. So, creating relationships between different data tables that you've got through Power Query or through Get Data is very important for the visualizations that you're going to be creating here. One thing that you'll find here, though, is that there is this big blank column here. Now, this is indicating that there is unmatched data in those tables. And if we look at some of the data, let's just go and choose the MotoGP World Standings. You'll see that it's the actual nation code. This SPA is not the actual code. So what we're looking at there, the big blank field, is for SPA. Now that should really say ESP as per the standard from the data that I've got. So if you look at our countries over here, and if we do a search there for our Spain, down here somewhere, where have we got Spain? There it is there. So there you go. You can see the actual international code there for Spain is ESP, which is what we're looking for here. Okay. So what we need to do is go and fix up the data in the MotoGP World Standings there to indicate that that is the real thing. So what we'll need to do is go Edit Queries. So in the Edit Queries, we're going to go to the Nation column. We're going to go Replace Values. And we're going to replace SPA with ESP, the correct value. Okay. And over here in the applied steps, you'll see that it says replaced value. Well, that's not really very descriptive. So let's go and rename this, and we're going to say replaced SPA with ESP. Okay, if we can spell it correctly, that'll be good for my documentation. No, I still can't spell correctly. Whoops. Okay. Okay, so we've replaced those values there. So what we'll do then is close and apply, and it will make those changes there for us. We'll go back to our visualization, and you will see the big blank column has now disappeared. It is still little blank over there, but we now have a column for Spain. All right, so this is still this is telling us that there is still some unmatched data. And if we go through here, we can actually see that the unmatched data that we're looking for, say for instance, if I go to the MotoGP results, we'll look for some of these ones here, is this one. Okay, the German players in this here. That is not the actual international code for Germany. The international code for Germany is DE, I think it is. All right, so let's go back to our Edit Queries. And we'll go back to the nation here, and we're going to replace values. And we're going to replace GER with DE, and we'll go OK. And of course over here we're going to rename this, and we're going to say replace GER with DE. Okay, very good. Alright, so we'll close this one off now, and we'll go back to the visualization after it's gone and updated the data set, and we can see here that we still have this blank. Okay, well, if we go back into the queries, if we actually have a look at the data that's inside those queries, we'll notice that the actual code here for Germany is not just DE, it's DEU. So let's go Germany. There it is, there. Okay, so where I've gone and whoops, okay, go back to this the data set here where I've replaced Germany with DE. All I need to do now, instead of actually going and deleting that and repeating the exercise, what I do is I go to the settings of that applied step and just add the appropriate bits in here. And I can do the same thing for the other steps previous to that, but I need to be very careful about the dependencies between steps. Okay. And so once we've made that, you'll see that the blank now disappears, and we've now got a Germany column here. Now, one of the really cool things that we can do with the Power BI and the visualizations, if we have any geolocated information like countries, we can display that on a map, and we simply just hit the visualization here for the map, and you can see the size of the representative size of the circles on the map is an indicator of how much value or sales or points or wins for a particular country in that there. Okay, so that's all we have here for this demonstration. So stay tuned for some further demos. What we will see a little bit further on is we've got a whole lot of statistics that we can get hold of here out of the MotoGP.com site. We've got results all the way from 1949 all the way up to 2016 or 2017 as it comes through. So what we'll be doing is making a few changes to our queries in our Power BI desktop here to access the data from everything, all the MotoGP wins and championships from the outset from 1949. Well, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. As I said, stay tuned for some further ones that we'll put up on the channel. So thank you for your time, and enjoy using Power BI.